need a link.
I know.
I think
Give
you're
me a
good.
second, man.
Let me.
Who was the stand-up that said that
All right.
they were talking
Just
about
went
microphones
live.
and there's a bunch of... Oh, never mind. Not going to continue with that.
There we go.
We ready? Are we live?
We're live.
Oh, I got in there.
You're gonna have to turn off the stream on the other side.
At the moment, I don't think.
Nam, I'm gonna tweet it out
Yes.
online. Just yeah.
Okay, I can see we're live. So Rob, I just need the link.
Yeah, I'm gonna tweet it out and then just copy paste it. I just tweeted it.
Okay. All right.
Wait. That's
Hey. Give it a second. Wait till we have actual viewers.
There we go.
As we get viewers, we can start formally.
Yep.
At least make sure we have like 2 or 3 or something.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Okay, we have people.
No. Oh, we got 3 viewers.
Hey, we have 3 people. See, here we go. You want to just go ahead and start it?
Sure.
Nice, huh? We're looking at
It's just gonna keep going
It's
back
gonna
and
go
forth. Whoever talks.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it is gonna just like work this time, and like you guys can see both of us.
Yep.
All right, cool. Okay, so we'll just start, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special edition of the Cal Golden Blogs / Cal Rivals Team Joint Think Through What the Fuck Just Happened. My name is Nam, and I'm gonna turn over to the other guys to introduce themselves. Everybody else is in Berkeley right now. I'm recording from my bed in Southern California. So
yeah, you make us sit in nice real chairs, and you're the only one sitting on your bed, just all relaxed.
all right, go ahead. Introduce yourselves, fools.
I guess I start with myself. I'm Rob. I write for CGB. If you just were following us on Twitter, I was the one tweeting on the game. So if I had any typos, please excuse those typos. I was just trying to get the action out as quickly as possible. And then yeah, that's me. And Andy and I co-host the Bearcast. So this is Andy. Andy, you can introduce yourself.
I'm Andy. CGB writer and slightly responsible for the Chip Kelly hype of late.
Horrible. Yeah, and I'm Trace. I'm just here. I'm the publisher of Cal Rivals, and I'm obscuring my face so no one knows what I look like.
You can be like the neighbor from Home Improvement. Exactly.
Good call.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are joining us tonight, that means you wanted to see what the hell we have to say about the bombshell that dropped this morning.
Wow,
And I can tell you for a fact, was a surprise to all of us. Program insiders, program outsiders, nobody knew 9 o'clock this morning that this was going down. So I'm gonna throw it over to you guys first. Just initial thoughts.
Trace, you want to start us off?
Well,
You're the one guy out of the 4 of us that is in the know.
yeah, that's debatable. But yeah, it came out of nowhere for pretty much everyone involved. Bruce Feldman was the one who broke the news for Fox Sports. This is a guess on my part, but Feldman probably is connected with someone close to Sonny because that news got out at about 10:27 this morning. The players knew by 10:36, which is about the same time that he released the story. So it's interesting to know how fast this stuff can travel when certain people are so connected. And I'm not going to say an indictment of social media and everything, but it's certainly interesting as far as everything goes. But I can tell you firsthand, it was not expected from anybody, from players to coaches to support staff to donors. It's unprecited.
Andy,
Is that
I know,
good?
we'll start
I know you had a lot to say.
Yes.
This is going. Or Dam, you want to go? You have something?
Oh no, I was just gonna be like, you guys can just finish all around since you guys are all in the same location and keeps the camera in the same place.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Andy?
I found out when Rob put it in our little Slack channel of CGB, and initially I immediately went to the logical explanation, which is there's a coach in the Bay Area that's won a Pac-12 championship before, who just became available. And previously you'd heard the rumblings of the buyout being a big figure. So I went to my mind and was like, okay, how would I pitch this to a donor? Maybe I would take a coach and put him up there and say, look, we can get this coach, and if you're willing to put forth this money. So I immediately jumped to that conclusion. And as I've existed throughout the rest of this day, it's become less and less and less and less, and it's almost to the point where it's not likely that that was the case. But yeah, I agree with you. It literally blew up.
Yeah.
And it took over my full day. My day was planned out to do other things, and I've spent it with hanging out with you guys, which is lovely.
Yeah,
but was
it really
unexpected.
It's nice. It's nice to have people to hang around with. But
Rob, are you coming back, or
Rob
should I
is-
just go?
Go ahead. I'll give my 2 cents.
So I was actually in bed, the very same bed on which I'm sitting right now. Don't worry, I've actually left it today. But I was in bed, and we were just kind of starting the morning speculating about Najee Harris and trying to figure out how serious it was, that whether or not he was going to come. And suddenly the Feldman report breaks, and I have to double check to make sure that it's not a fake account, that it's dated correctly, that it came from today. And yeah, it took out the rest of my day too. I'm going to be a little bit behind for planning the start of the semester, but I'll get through it and I'll catch up. But I didn't think Mike Will had the guts or the political will to pull this off. So that's where I'm at.
Should we go to?
to paraphrase The Rock, he's not a jabroni. He eats his Chef Boyardee ravioli.
For me, I was the first one that realized this on CGB, and I was at the airport, and because my dad was leaving, we were at Wendy's, and I ordered breakfast. I got the order. I sat down. I opened my phone, checked Twitter, refreshed it. First tweet that pops up is Bruce Feldman's tweet that breaking news: Sonny Dykes was fired. And I didn't even second take it. I just went like, oh, okay. And then, what? Wait a second. And then, so I screenshot that, sent it right off to the other guys. I couldn't write a post on it since I was at the airport, but someone else, I think it was Peter, who picked it up and did it for us. Thankfully, thank God he was near a computer. But yeah, it was just as shocking. The more I thought about it, the more the timing was weird. The more I thought about it, the more I realized, wait, maybe this means that they have someone already lined up. Like at this point, I think most people this late, especially with National Signing Day around the corner, dead period ending this Thursday, most of us kind of just went, all right, we'll stick around with Sonny for another year. I think that's most Cal fans would agree that that's the point they came to, right? Just,
Yeah.
all right, fine. I guess it's just one more year.
That's
exactly
what was going to happen before this.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden this bomb is dropped, which was a weird way. Like I couldn't find any moment of like happiness, nor could I find any moment of like to really fathom what had just had happened. It was just more of like, oh yeah, here you go. Yeah, he's gone. Now you're looking for a new head coach.
Yeah.
After all other coaching positions of note was hired.
So actually, as we start getting some reader questions to come in,
We have quite a
this
few.
will kind of just be we have quite a few comments.
Sorry about the
so
dog.
Yeah.
We're
Sorry
not
about the dog.
really-
That's
all this.
my dog.
She had a lot to say on the subject.
Yeah, she did.
So I guess we'll start with talking about the timing of all of this, since that's where Rob was at. So I guess for me, the department has traditionally been very, let's say, slow to react to a lot of things. Opinion. They don't make this move now, and they don't make it this year if they weren't prepared to move on somebody quickly. And Trace and I have both kind of dug around, and we know that they were prepared last time. Had Sonny walked, so I can't think that it's going to take that long. I'm expecting a new coach to be hired by Tuesday, maybe Wednesday at the latest. And Tuesday is an important marker, seeing as if the reported guy who's in the lead, Justin Wilcox, is bringing Tosh, well, Tosh's duties at Alabama would be greatly reduced after Monday's championship game. So I'd expect by Wednesday at the latest, we're going to have somebody in play, maybe by the end of the week.
I agree with that assessment.
Yeah, I mean, at the latest, that has to be done by this week. I just don't see this dragging out for God knows how long. When you know that this recruiting class is already small as it is, they have to be able to fill it out with guys that they want. And also, not only that, off-season training starts this week, which means you need to get in your training guys and your training regimen that you want to instill in the team at day 0. And if it's already going to go past day 0 at this point, so you just want it done as quickly and as just thoroughly and quickly as possible.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've already sent guys out for interviews. So
I mean, it has to be, right?
From what I've heard.
So, but it's. I mean, the takeaway that was the most surprising for me, if we're talking about timing, is you're within you're within a month of signing day, and all we've been talking about is whether or not Najee is going to come to Cal, which we knew that really wasn't going to happen, or at least
it was just a fun talking point. Over the last 2 weeks, there was something to look forward to in the slightest amount.
Yeah, I agree. And then now this happened, and we have something to look forward to. But I think the weirdest thing to me is that Mike Williams said that he needed 5 weeks from the end of the season to evaluate the program on and off the field and the efficiency of it. And if you think about that, you think it would be something you'd be constantly evaluating. You'd have key performance indicators. If anything was lacking, then you would make adjustments to it or decide at that point in time, early December, that it's time to make a change. You look at Oregon as the example. Oregon decided within 2 or 3 days of the season concluding that was the time, it's time to move on from Helfrich. We need to get somebody else in there. And they go out and get somebody like Taggart, who's I'm terrified of.
Yep.
And so that to me is where I continued to revisit this in my head, having been at that press conference, and became continually more frustrated with the timing of it. Because I feel like we should be having this conversation, or should have had it a month ago, but instead now we're having it now, and that risks all of our recruits. Yes, optimism is high in me and high in my opinion of the athletic department, and is continually dwindling as I get closer and closer to it, Lawrence. So that is the truth.
Yeah.
Actually, Gabe, I'm thinking very carefully about how I want to say this, but basically, season ticket renewals have been going on for about a month, and that was certainly a factor. The number and the rate of people who were renewing sent a very clear message to Deitz, and that is another factor in why we waited a month to fire him.
Gotcha.
Because if it was strictly going to be for performance-related purposes alone, they would have done it this year, and he did enough to avoid the axe, so to speak, this year. So,
well, did you see that Stanford?
Yeah, he's done a lot to avoid the axe.
Hey-oh,
got him.
I'm sorry.
even after he's
gone, it's just there's still things to laugh about.
Couldn't resist.
Okay, so I guess that kind of talks a little bit about the timing of the move. I think everybody is anticipating, unless the department is even more incompetent than originally imagined, this should get done pretty quickly. Ryan Gorsey has also said he thinks it'll get done pretty quickly. So let's talk candidates. We'll throw it over to you guys first, through what their main candidate thoughts are, and we'll go from there.
Trace, you want to start?
Okay. I see 3 guys at this point. They've all been put forward at this point. Justin Wilcox, defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, former Cal linebackers coach. Jake Spavital, current interim head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. The entire team likes him. I kind of fear having a Travis DeCure situation that they had with basketball a couple of years ago between him and him being hired and Konzo being hired, and Chip Kelly, who is being paid a lot of money not to coach, which with an athletic department strapped with financial issues makes sense. So you have those three guys. They all have familiarity with the Pac-12 offenses, defenses, you name it. That they've all had some modicum of success in the Pac-12, so they're all viable guys. I think Wilcox is the front runner at the moment just because we've had an offensive-minded coach for a number of years, and a lot of people will see that as not having worked because of the lack of attention to defense. So you get a defensive-minded coach who had a very good year at Wisconsin to come in, is familiar with the area, recruits well, can bring in staff that recruits well, and can go from there. So would you guys like to talk about your guys?
Andy?
Yeah, so the initial talk through that I had with Rob and with one of my buddies was all focused around why I thought Chip Kelly was the right hire. And it doesn't have anything to do with like his personality or being a pretty fun guy, because I'm a Niners fan, so I've been around this team and he's an interesting dude. But what I really wanted in a hire was someone that understood what it meant to win a championship. It doesn't have to be a national championship, but that was the allure of Tosh, is that he's been around an organization where he understands what it's like to win a championship. The thing with Sonny is we took him from Louisiana Tech. He won at a lower division, and was he going to make the jump? And we've seen that he wasn't able to make as big of a leap as we perhaps hoped or maybe expected, depending on where you were. So the reason why I like Chip is because he's proven it, he's done it, and there's not a lot of personnel turnover with Sonny's players and the athleticism on offense. You don't really miss a beat, and particularly like whether or not he would keep Spavon as an O coordinator would be certainly a big question.
Could bring in Helfrich.
Yeah, fantastic. But I think the biggest thing was I was always looking at it from the perspective of the donor and what I would be saying to the person who's controlling the buyout. And what I would be saying if I was Mike Williams and I wanted Chip Kelly is that I can bring in this coach who's going to be paid $6 million and pay them at $1.5, maybe $2 million, which I'm throwing that figure out, and I realize that's bottom tier of the Pac-12, but he's getting paid $6 million. So within that contract over time, maybe I can prove out some sort of ROI equation while bringing in someone who's proven to be successful in conference. And that's really where I landed on the Chip Kelly, and then I went down my own rabbit hole of hype and all that stuff. But that was the candidate that initially all the timing, and it made too much sense, and a lot of things in life, I suppose, like that are too good to be true, but that's why I liked it.
A lot of people are asking there if Wilcox is offered the head job, will Spav stay as the offensive coordinator? I'd honestly lean towards no. I'm fairly certain Spavital wants the head job. So, and
He wants to make the jump?
yeah, and I think he could. He's got the energy. He can recruit well. He's got the players with him too. He's a good coach, and personally, he's easier to interview than a lot of other coaches. So
Yeah.
pretty laid back, pretty easy guy to talk to.
The big
So,
question is for me, if that were to come true, who does he have enough guys that he knows that he could bring in as an offensive coordinator under him? Right.
it's a matter of whether you'd promote guys, like promote Jones or Peeler or someone.
Yeah. Right. That's the only thing. That's the only question mark I have is he hasn't had all those, like when he came in offense coordinator at Cal, he didn't bring any of the guys he knew at A&M with him.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
everyone.
he kind of got fired today.
That's true. Yeah. But he didn't even try. Like it was the offensive group was already set when he moved in here. So that's the big question mark for me for that. But since no one's going to talk about it, I'm just going to throw out the big names just because I know it's never going to happen, but might as well talk about it. Right. I'm just going to, I'm going for it.
Are you going to a coach in the NFC South?
We're going to Les Miles. We're going to Ron Rivera. We're going to Dave Miranda. That's where we're going right now. We're going to the three that are never going to happen.
Let me throw in one more that I heard today. Herm Edwards.
Really? Wow.
Oh, the best
Play
one
to win the game.
The best one I heard today was from a from a fake Bruce Feldman Twitter account that said Tom Holmoe was coming
That was
back.
a well done. That was a well done fake Twitter account. That got us.
Oh my God. The amount of people that were so scared from that single tweet was amazing. But seriously, a lot of people want that big name hire. Those three guys, pretty much, you can darken that box. Like, you don't check the box. It's like that's like a
the box has already been checked.
Exactly, with those three guys. I highly doubt any of those three guys even get or do an interview with us.
No.
But it's worth talking about. I mean, you have one guy who's fired from LSU, has won championships, and has yet to get a job out of all those openings. He could be taking a year off and seeing what opens up next year.
He's sampling Kentucky bluegrass.
This is very true.
He's trying to figure out his what he wants to put in his living room.
He could be doing that. So, I mean, there is that guy. I mean, I don't see why you don't at least give him a call. Just like you would, they would have probably at least called Chip Kelly.
Hey, Les, it's Mike Williams. Okay.
And then, of course, Dave Aranda, who's the defensive coordinator out at LSU. Defensive coordinator? Yes, defensive coordinator out at LSU. Yeah. Just
if Dave Aranda is not going to leave.
Yeah, if Dave Aranda's not leaving LSU, he's not coming to become a head coach.
Sorry,
but it's just the allure of being a head coach. So I don't think that's going to happen either. And then, of course, the last one, Ron Rivera. I mean, it makes sense if you look at just what it is. Like, he's big name hire, big name coach, has connections to Cal, and has NFL experience. Like, he's never recruited, but I would think that if he were to become a Cal head coach and calls the recruit's family and is like, "Hey, Ron Rivera here, want to recruit your son," like, I don't see how that doesn't at least get a foot in the door.
Weird.
Just
right? Jeff Fisher.
Oh God, Steve Sarkisian. Okay, I opened a floodgate that I shouldn't have opened, huh?
That's right.
Nam, now that we've been shutting you out for too long,
please, Nam, please return us back to the mortal realm. Bring us back to reality.
So I did write and think through all of these candidates. I have a piece that is running on Rivals tomorrow, so I don't want to kind of spoil all of my talking points ahead of time.
You did. It's quite good.
Anyway, so you guys can check for the rest of that in the morning. I'm going to give the short version of my thoughts. If we are in a situation where we have to choose between giving Spav the straight up, like, the job right away at 31, he'd be younger than PJ Fleck with a bigger job than PJ Fleck. I'm not convinced that he's ready to take a head coach job yet. If there was any way, whether that's through a combination of raise, titles, promise of autonomy, I don't know, like get on your knees, beg, whatever. Like, if we can find a way to keep him at offensive coordinator and keep most of the staff in place, huge coup for us. But I really, our best chance is to maybe hire a coach a defensive coach who would be open to keeping the offensive staff here if we are going to hang on to Spavital. But he's too young for the job, I feel like, and we may have a good chance at signing somebody else, at least someday. I just don't think it's now. And then with regards to the rest of the names, the point that I want to make for sure about Chip Kelly is, why would he take less money, though? Exactly. Yes, he would be affordable technically because two teams are paying him not to coach right now, but he's probably not going into negotiations with Cal being like, well, my value's low, so I'm going to cut you guys a deal because I'm already being paid by these other organizations. Like, that no agent is going to approach negotiations being like, we're going to sweeten the pot for you. Like, their job is to extract every dollar from us like precious bone marrow. Those are some of my opening thoughts. I would say that whoever the new hire is, I would hope that they pay a lot of attention, or at least, thought to maintaining the most of the offensive staff that's already in place, and that's namely Spav and Peeler, because they're pretty rare recruiters if they can get guys to look over here.
Yeah.
I don't think that Chip Kelly would take less money for Top Dog. I feel like they have that. He did the stuff with the smoothies and stuff that the Eagles rebelled against. So, just answering the questions here.
I feel like, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say Chip Kelly is unattainable, and I looked at it from the Niners' perspective. And the guy, like, I've read all those conversations about how badly he wants to coach and how badly he wants to be a head coach and prove that his system works. And we saw, like, Petrino had a flame-out level of in the same regard in the NFL and made his way back into Arkansas. And, I mean, they didn't necessarily have to break the bank to bring him back. Like, I don't need to feed it anymore. Like, I do think there's more realistic candidates, but I also think I agree entirely that Spav is too young, and that type of hire would be more – it's just such a move that – are we really thinking that Mike Williams, who is as close to an interim AD as they come in my mind, is going to go out and put his career on hiring Spav? I think there's just not a chance that – he's going to make that hire. It's too unsafe of a hire. It's the same reason why the Niners aren't going to hire the O coordinator of the Redskins.
Shanahan?
McVay? Yeah, he's too young. Like, they're not in a position to make that hire. And like, if Mike Williams bombs this, that's his job. And with his career riding on it, I don't know if he's going to hitch his wagon to someone who's that young. As much as I like Spav at all, and seems like he knows what he's doing.
He really does. I've had a few conversations with him, and he understands the game pretty well. I mean, he should by this point. He's been the offensive coordinator at 2 major Division I programs. But he understands what he's got. He understands players, and I honestly think he's more than ready for it. It shouldn't be a matter of age. I mean, hell, when the Raiders hired John Madden, I believe he was around the same age.
You can say Lane Kiffin.
Oh, no. I'm a Raider fan. Why would I ever say that? Good God, he's horrible. But Madden was in his 30s. He was the linebacker coach at the time, didn't have any head coaching experience. But when you know about these guys, you know. And I feel like he would be ready if the opportunity called. There would be an issue of who to put as an offensive coordinator, who to put into that position, whether he'd call plays or not. And one of the issues that I've found with Cal in the past few years is the lack of head coaching oversight on the defensive side of the ball. For the most part, for those of you who haven't been at a Cal practice, they've been open, but they've been separated into 2 different fields. You'll have the offense in Memorial Stadium and the defense out on Maxwell, to separated before they come back together for team periods and special teams and all that fun stuff. But for the most part, I think 90% of the time Sonny was out with the offense because he was an offensive coach. That's what he did. But in order to be the best kind of overseer type coach and have input on both sides of the ball, you need to be going back and forth, have the energy to go back and forth and deal with the defense, which was having problems. And you've got to fix those problems somehow because you're not paid as much money as you are to not fix the problems. So, I don't know. It's a whole mess of a situation. Silence.
I know, dead silence.
Stunned
Well,
final thoughts.
I mean, like you said, that the screen flashes every time somebody says something, so I don't want to just like be constantly interrupting.
Oh, interrupt me. I don't want to.
The other thing, the other thing with I agree, we do want somebody who is going to kind of be more well versed both ways, probably. Like at some point, Sonny basically turned and ultimately part of what did him in, beyond the fact that he was interviewing with other schools and persistently mediocre results, is the fact that, you know, he turned his like half of his team over to the 2 guys who would later do him in, Andy Boo and, you know, Coach K. So we're going to want somebody who at least has, you know, more trusted lieutenants or at least an ability to kind of oversee both sides of the ball where necessary. Speaking of other traits I'm looking for, no more goddamn pooch punts. No more not going for it on 4th and short. And then I'll throw it back over to you guys.
I don't know, man. That pooch punt in the Washington game worked really well for the Huskies.
I say always go for it on 4th down.
Yeah, me too. Chip Kelly's perfect for that.
Yeah, exactly. We can always go for 2. We can always, onside kick. I'd go after your heart, man. I don't know.
But here's the ultimate reason why I think we can't hire Chip Kelly, and that mostly has to do with the fact that, like, what are we paying for? And what I mean by that is not the fact that we're paying for a good coach. It's just like Chip Kelly hates college. If you've done your reading on Chip, and I've read like so many profiles on him just because I'm fascinated by the guy. It's like he was most happy at New Hampshire, where there's no real pressure to recruit, nobody to report to. He loves the pro game because he can just dedicate himself to the X's and O's and doing his job. And he notoriously hates donors and recruiting. If we're bringing in Chip, it's a stopgap. It's like a lot for a few years, but he's moving on to the next job. Like, I don't see Chip being here for very long, personally.
It also goes hand in hand with what Mike Williams said earlier in his statement. It's basically that they want to have a head coach in place who is fully committed to our program and our university.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Yeah, if that wasn't a
Shots
shot
fired.
at Dykes, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so you want someone who's there for the long haul. He specifically said during the press conference today that he wants someone who's there for the long haul. But with Chip, I don't think that would happen, and that's why he's the kind of Charlie Kelly-esque wild card of the current candidates that we have down.
Yeah,
I mean, they'll call probably just to see, what happens with him. So they'd say, hey, we did our due diligence the same way that we all expected that they were going to call Chris Peterson, even though Chris Peterson was totally going to turn us down in 2012 anyway. But for all intents and purposes, that's the easy connection to make, but I really strongly doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat.
very short phone call.
In a vote.
Oh, God.
The conversation has now turned to Tosh in the chat, so a lot of things to be said here. I guess, Trace, hopefully we don't get in trouble for saying this, but expected that if we do hire Justin Wilcox, he will probably try to.
I don't think it's expected anymore, but I think, he'll try. He'll try.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry, I interrupted you too soon.
He's going to try to bring Tosh. So my satisfaction with Wilcox as a potential candidate is highly contingent on him bringing, one of the top 6 recruiters in the country with him. We'll see. He did just get re-upped this winter. Tosh did at Alabama. Can we talk about the defensive opening, Trace?
I mean, now that there's a head coach opening, I think it's open game to talk about whoever may be coming. So,
All right. Basically, some of you guys know this rumoring has kind of trickled, but Cal was very heavily involved with Tosh for the defensive opening when Sonny was here. But ultimately, Tosh couldn't, as the story goes, according to who you believe and so on and so forth. But ultimately couldn't get Tosh to commit here,
for
ironically.
one reason or another.
Yeah.
It goes between reasons, and I'll let everyone else figure out what those are.
Yeah, there's a lot of sides to that story that doesn't necessarily need to be said because it hasn't happened. But yeah, it's one of those where the entire fan base is literally split in half over this.
Yeah.
Like there's people that are significantly against it, and there's people that say what happened in the past, bygones be bygones. Like, he's a damn good coaching up guy and a damn good recruiter. If he wants to come back home, let's bring him home.
Generally
And-
speaking, that's the opinion of the guys on the stream. But we don't want to devolve this again into talking about Tosh. The things that happen with that situation. That's either going to happen or it's not. But at least among the four of us, I think we can all kind of agree, if he's strongly being looked at as a package deal with Wilcox, if we can offer him something comparable, great. If he doesn't come, that's fine. But we would be happy with the possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think all of us
So
are okay with him coming back.
I like Tosh.
He was always nice to me when I worked there.
Me
So
too. Yeah.
Yo, but the thing with that though is we aren't ultimately the movers in the athletic department. You know, guys like us have a voice and a platform, and we work for a website that ultimately generates 500,000 page views a month, flexing. But as I'm saying that, like, we hold very little sway. There's no way, just because some young millennials think, oh, Tosh is fine. It's like, we're not the ones who are cutting the checks to get rid of Sonny Dykes. I would suspect, and we don't have any details on it yet, about whether it was donor money or athletic money. But somebody evidently decided to bite the bullet here. So it's not my 6 million.
We tried to ask, and the answer was, I can't tell you now, but I'll tell you later.
also known as no, stop asking. Get the hell out of here. But yeah, I strongly suspect it's donor money because there is no athletic money.
No, and that article on Bloomberg just came out today, weirdly timed perfectly with firing Sonny, about all the debt in college football.
It's a couple days ago, but yeah.
Oh, it came out last week.
Yeah.
But for me, it just surfaced. Someone just tweeted it at me, and I just read it today. And yeah, the amount of debt that we have, I don't think we could take on another 6 million. Like, just in terms of institution.
Can't be $20 million in debt. It's a hard sell. It was a hard sell to Mike Williams when we were there in person, listening to it. And I think it's a hard sell to anyone that's involved with any other program that's at risk. That, you know, you're spending $5+ million, and I realize, and we talked about this, I realize that it's not necessarily the same money, but one can easily see from the perspective of like a baseball player or someone who might be at risk of losing their scholarship. They might say, well, if you have $6 million to pay this guy, why don't you have that money to save our program and keep us as a D1 team rather than moving us to club? I don't know, man. We're not in a good spot.
No. But going back, let's actually, why don't we sum up what the press conference was about today?
Yeah.
I have my notes right here.
Go ahead.
So basically, what Mike Williams
Really
said.
wasn't that enlightening.
Huh?
He basically said nothing today. But go ahead, Trace.
Of course. No, I agree. It's a lot of the talking heads. You're talking a lot without saying anything. So basically, let's run down the list. He says we can't be financially sustainable without a winning program. The commitment to Cal is integral in the long term. That he has a short list, but as a donor email went out, they're using a
Consulting.
there you go consulting firm for this, which
Which is stupid
angers
too, because
us.
they're going to come up with all of the same names that we've been throwing out already. we could have done this job for free, basically, which is what we're doing. But consulting firms are dumb.
I'll take it for $20 and a sandwich.
Consulting firm ended up with Sonny Dykes last time, which I also settled on. So we both got it wrong, and they got paid. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So one point that Mike Williams did stress was that it was not connected with on-field performance, which he said at least 2 or 3 times during it, which
he tried
surprised
to
me.
emphasize it.
Okay, so he said that he's not talking about the candidates until the end of the process. Big surprise. So
We won't
he
talk
bet-
about them once the process is done either. He'll just be like, we did our due diligence. We interviewed the best possible candidates. You know, if you've been to one of these like introductory like press conferences before. The only time that I've ever seen a school be like, here's who we interviewed, here's why they weren't fit for the job, is Houston this year.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Felt very much.
We're hiring Sam Hinkie. He's just going to tell us to trust the process. It's gonna be
Hey,
horrible.
if they trust the process right now, it's working out pretty good for them right now.
Well, that's 2 years after they drafted Embiid. But we're getting off topic. Sorry. So they contacted everyone within 10 minutes of the meeting. They fired him without cause, which is why they're paying $5.88 million in a buyout. The main point to end the press conference was that he wants Cal to be on the level of other Cal programs winning championships, that the financial model is reliant on football being successful, and part of that needs is the community committing to championship football.
Yep.
Which I don't know how many of you are around Cal, but that's not the attitude isn't always the greatest. So
It was really weird for him to say that, just because, like, is there any program D1 or Power 5 school that's settling for mediocrity? Like, isn't the goal to develop a championship program? Like, what is there any program that sets out like looking for a head coach when we're just going to settle for a mediocre, maybe a perennial bowl team, but we don't want to put ourselves and set the bar too high?
Rutgers?
Yeah, but they fired their coach because he was bullying his players. So, I mean, but regardless, right? It sounds like all like hurrah, hurrah, but at the same time, it's also something that should just come standard, in my opinion.
Well, and to a degree, but he has to contradict what he said earlier, which is if we go 3-9 and graduate our student athletes, then everyone.
I thought that was a donor who said that.
Well, that could be true, but I mean, regardless, like you have to set the expectation somewhere, and it's like the same thing that Jed York tried to do when he fired Harbaugh. We commit to championships in San Francisco, and if anything less than a championship is not successful.
And you hire one of the members of the auto workers union.
My thing with the press conference was what you said, which was he didn't have any issues with the on-field performance. And I kept coming back to that and being like, how in the world did you not have any issues with the on-field performance? If you're citing ticket sales in non-renewals as a reason as why you are firing a coach, that is a direct result of the on-field.
I have multiple friends who said straight up in their phone call, shout out to Mike Rollins. Mike Rollins, if you're listening.
Mike Rollins.
He's not.
He's not.
He said straight up, why are you not renewing? Well, I'm not happy with the on-field product. Like, how does that information not trickle down to Mike Will? Like, I refuse to believe that wasn't a factor. Even if he is saying that, he had to have at least been unhappy. I can understand letting Sonny walk another year at 5-7 if we had won like 2 games, but. He did the bare minimum. I've always described him as like a passing student, a frustrating student, to bring this back to my own career, like analogy wise. But if you were happy and you didn't see a problem, what the hell is wrong with you?
This is true.
Like, we saw the problems.
As my old boss used to say, C's get degrees, but they do not win championships. He didn't say the second part. I just made that up.
Is that a typo joke?
No, my old boss in the video department at Cal. So
excellent.
Yeah.
But it does make sense, right? I mean, if they're going out to win, I just don't want like the fan base, like us included, like for this hire to come in, and then we look back at this press conference and we look back at all what he said, and we go, like, that does not sum up anything. Like, the hire that you just made does not sum up anything of what you just said prior to going on and searching. And you say you already have a short list. Then I don't know. I just have a gut feeling it's going to come back to that. It is Cal sports we're talking about. Like, we are going to get let down to some degree, and I'm praying that we don't. But it just feels like that it's gonna happen. Like, we're just gonna end up with someone that we're gonna have to settle for, just like Nam did with Sunny.
Unnecessary to throw under the bus right there. I just want to. Oh, go ahead, Nim.
Say, like, we've been at this for about 35 minutes. I didn't really have an exit strategy in terms of what we still wanted to talk about, because we touched on candidates, and I know those of you guys who have tuned in or maybe missed certain parts, like, you guys might want to hear us kind of go over a few things that we've already mentioned. So I thought maybe we could take some questions, things that for at least a few minutes, and then go to closing thoughts. I don't know what the plan was. Live streams, like, I have to figure out how long, how long are we going?
Send in your questions now.
questions, Rob. Yeah.
All right, just send in your
send in
questions
your
now.
If you want to ask one of us something specifically, then, put our name. Anyone on the team thinking of transferring? Not that I know of.
No, I mean, I guess that's a topic that we can talk about before as we watch. Is how do you think the recruiting thing's going to pan out? Because as it stands right now, it doesn't seem like a lot of the recruits that are committed want to leave. I mean, the Genmark Heath.
Actually, Trace, you should take this question since you're the recruiter, dude.
Okay, so we had some recruiting thoughts earlier. A lot of them were just like, I don't know, I'll have to think about it, or I'm committed for now, but I'll have to think about it. I mean, they have 14 guys in this class. 4 of them are going to be on campus this week in Funches, Patton, Cherry, and Tariq Johnson.
If not, if they're already here either.
Yeah, pretty much. They're already here. That's said and done. So the other 10 are Garbers, 2 linemen, Biagio, Hawkins, who's going to stay because his nephew, actually, it's a weird familial relation. If you don't know about this, Jalen Hawkins, who's a safety, his Jeremiah Hawkins is not his brother, but his uncle. So it's weird. I still don't completely get it. I had Jalen explain it to me, and I still don't get it. And then you have all the defensive guys. You got Paul Scott. You got the defensive backs, Genmark Heath, Godfrey, Onyemaiobi, and Tariq Hardman. And it just depends on whether the position coaches stay, which Burns, he's been tagged as someone who probably would stay through another coaching staff because he has that kind of pedigree with recruiting, with coaching up players. He coached Troy Polamalu at USC. So for the most part, there's guys who are going to stay. Adrian Martinez in the 2018 class, he's pretty much going to stay no matter what.
I mean, that kid.
Nam loves that.
Yeah, he's a talented kid, good kid, just improved from year to year. From a pocket passer standpoint, he's going to be very talented when he gets to Cal. But he was close with Spavital. Spavital is one of the motivating factors for him coming to Cal. So may have to rethink that, but hopefully he sticks with his decision if I'm to be a little biased. But I don't know. I think when we see who the next guy is, it'll shed a lot of light. I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but it really is true. There isn't enough information at this point. But from the outpouring, from what we've seen from players and coaches, that I'm not sure Dykes makes much of a difference in this.
Yeah, I mean, at the press conference too, when Mike Williams was asked about the recruiting class for this year, he did say that we've told all the coaches to go out and talk to all the recruits, which kind of suggests, I don't know if this was obvious to everyone else, but it kind of suggests that Dykes was the only one that was fired. That all the other position coaches are still technically on staff and under contract. So I don't know how that plays out. I don't know how you call a recruit after the head coach was fired and reassure them that they'll be there.
I mean, Kalfani Muhammad did commit after Tetford was fired, and Ron Gould was running the team for that short period of time. But can we flip anyone? Yes, we can.
Yeah, I think.
Will we?
Who knows? Depends on who we go after, too.
Yeah.
We need to go after.
A lot still up in the air, but I think because the class was small anyway, we don't have a ton of spots to give around. And, guys aren't exactly champing at the bit to jump ship here because they've been sold on the university, on getting this degree. And to be honest, if they have been paying attention at least to the people who write about the team, it's not like we were speaking of coach in glowing terms. They certainly had to expect this might be a possibility at some point. So
There's
I
only
can't.
like 2 or 3 spots left.
Yeah. Well, I read your article that you wrote with the the distributions.
Yeah, it's a small class coming, and it's the problem of you've taken a lot of guys who are either projects that haven't panned out or guys that just haven't contributed, like, say, a Kennedy Amasivi, who's been moved over to fullback, and other guys.
I liked him.
Yeah.
I liked him when I was watching his tape a few years ago, but it sucks that he's a non-contributor right now.
Yeah, it just hasn't worked out. It's stuff like that it builds up, and it's built up to a certain point. Like AJ Greathouse, who was injured all year this year, he's a good player. It just hasn't worked out with him. And there's a bunch of guys like that. So you're feeling the effects of that right now. And it's all kind of happened at once. I don't know.
How do you guys...
The thing is, anybody who does decommit, to be honest, and this is having watched the tapes of basically everybody except Paul Scott, like, we could afford to lose almost any guy in this class. That's no offense to any of them specifically. What I mean is nobody in this class is a program maker or program breaker. Should we lose them? I mean, according to the Rivals metrics, we have one 4-star guy this year in Garbers.
Yep.
At a position, and that's at a position where we already have guys we feel like should be successful, and Adrian Martinez in the pipeline. So, that's not to say there aren't good players. I look at Gabe Cherry and I think, oh shit, he looks like a mini James Looney in a few years. I look at Tyreek Johnson and I'm like, he could play anywhere. But if anybody happens to decommit from this class, I wouldn't look at any of them and be like, we lost a major day one contributor. These are all guys who are being recruited with the expectation that they have a little bit of time to grow in something.
I feel like Godfrey, someone's bringing up Godfrey in there, that he's someone that can be like one of Washington's cornerbacks right now. He's been playing football for 2 years, and he won Conference Defensive Player of the Year this past year, and nobody threw at him because he was blanketing guys, but he's not there yet, and that's what a lot of these guys are. They're not quite at that level. There's not as many of them that jump out as someone that, they'll play right away. How about Marshawn for head coach? That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Highly not great, but awesome.
Fully in favor of it.
Yeah.
Run the ball.
We would. Or we would throw it on the 1 yard line, 4th and goal, 3rd and goal.
So is the recruiting thing a reflection of the program state? And so we're saying maybe that was like one of those things that they looked at and said, well, it's just looks like it's going to be a continuation of the same. Or is it something where we just happen to have a little bit less turnover than we did last year, and so we're actually better off at certain positions? Or like, where do you fall on that between you and him?
Defensive recruiting, and honestly, the not hiring a defensive coordinator as fast as a lot of people would have liked. I mean, we didn't officially know that Kaufman was gone until the 15th of December, which was a couple weeks after the season. And honestly, you kind of knew that he was gone anyway. And not making that decision sooner, I feel, played into it. And not recruiting as well on the defensive end did it. On the offensive end, they've recruited great, and they've developed guys, and they have D-Rob, who is the ultimate recruit from that 2016 class, and he's paying off. But
And then Stovall.
yeah, and Stovall, I didn't even mention him, and he's been great, and he came in right away ready to play, and there haven't been those guys on the defensive end. So, Nam, I don't know what you have to add on that.
Defensively, like, it's a combination of things. I've tried to kind of think my way through this before. Part of it was we struck out with a lot of key guys who would have helped.
Saffel, that's right. He played.
We struck out with a bunch of guys like that would have helped us earlier. And in turn, that starts a spiral. And this is also tied into the fact that we entrusted our defense to Boo and Coach K, and the injuries happened. And recruits watch that and they're like, why do I come here? And yes, I can play right away, but playing right away doesn't mean crap if I'm getting like 50 dropped on me, or if I'm giving up 700 yards a game. So defensive recruiting should pick up once we have somebody with a vision. Coach K also wasn't a really great recruiter, according to reputation. That's part of why he's only been places for a couple of years. I believe he was let go at Cincinnati specifically for the recruiting reason. A lot of that still, we will see. But the staff, if you opted for we don't get high star players, but we're going to develop players, they didn't really do a good job of that either. We have a bunch of, to me, what's like a really big indictment is like Russell Uday, who 35, 38 programs wanted, still hasn't seen the field yet. And I know part of that is he's undergoing body transformation right now. But that's part of the thing that disappoints me is like you can't even develop the really good talent you have on hand. And maybe some of these guys were misses in evaluations anyway, but have to see some sort of improvement, and we just never got that the last few years. So defensive recruits aren't coming here being like really good about this. So I don't, that's just, I'm all over the place on that one.
Body transformation makes it sound like he's coming out of a cocoon and turning into a butterfly. I'm thinking the bug from A Bug's Life. Klaus?
Klaus? No, it was Klaus? Klaus.
I think so. He's
You're right.
large and
Klaus?
German.
Klaus.
All right.
But yeah, Mike Muhammad was a 2-star recruit from Brawley, California. I remember that one specifically.
There's a bunch of good guys. Zach Follett, he was not highly rated. A lot of guys on our O-line that ended up being really good weren't highly rated, like Tepper, and there's plenty of reason not to believe the hype behind. But recruiting now is like a different ball game in the mid 2000s. We know way more. I think there's less of a likelihood of missing, although you still see it. You still people see
They did have the 9th ranked recruiting class in I think 2004. So they recruited well in the mid 2000s. And yes, Chad Hansen was. They've developed guys on offense like Hansen and Rivera, and to a certain extent Borstel.
Anderson.
That's part of why I really feel like the offensive staff, if possible, in a perfect world, we'd be able to retain them because we have a winning offense. Can we score points? Do we have an offensive identity? The problem was, can we fucking stop anybody? And if we even did that to a decent degree, Sonny would still be here right now.
McMorris, yeah.
Was there anything I wanted to say in there? It's getting late. People got to go to bed. I still have to get to work in the morning. So how do you guys feel about just doing a last round of final closing thoughts? I'll give people a chance to answer in the chat if there's anything we want to address specifically, because we have been talking for almost an hour now.
Yeah, sounds good.
Wow.
All right, so
Time goes
gentlemen,
fast when
you
you're
three?
on YouTube Live.
Yeah, I know. You three, closing thoughts, and then I'll just wrap it up and shut the hell up.
Trace, you want to start this off first?
It's been an interesting day. It's a move forward, obviously. When you think about it, just something's going to happen. And admittedly, this is a bit of an odd, I guess, odd comparison, but I compare it to the current situation in WWE. When they take a
Oh
risk,
my God.
I'm getting somewhere. Don't stop me now. When they take a risk with a character, whatever it may be, like when earlier last year, one of the guys got a suspension for drugs, and he was the world champion, and he was considered like unbeatable or whatever. And they decided, okay, we're forced to take the title off of him and make a move in a new direction. It makes everything interesting. And that's what Cal's doing now. It gives everybody a reason to look and a reason to see. And what's going to happen next, we're not sure, but it's a move forward, which is a move that was needed. If that made any sense, which it probably did.
Nice story arc to a happy place.
Okay, that Ronda Rousey was trying to do the Homer Simpson thing of just taking punches until someone was tired.
I was going to say,
Didn't
and then
work.
Ronda Rousey comes along and saves your day.
Yeah. That didn't work. You guys?
I think the biggest question we had earlier was, is this classic? Is this an AD with a plan and someone ready to finally take a step in the right direction, the one that I think everybody here was waiting for a month ago? Or is this more along the lines of a continual behavior of incompetence when it comes to our athletic department? And I'm still leaning towards the latter, sadly. So I don't want to take like the pessimistic approach. I'm excited because it will be more interesting, but I'm a little bit more like pessimistic in that I'm worried about where it will end up leaving us if we start to see it not be as easy as maybe we think. Like maybe Wilcox says, hey, I'm good at Wisconsin, I'm not interested. And we reach out to someone else and they say, dealing with the UC Regents isn't something I'm really familiar with. I don't really want to touch it. Or didn't your basketball coach stick around for 2 years without being on a contract? So I wonder if there's we all see the appeal from Cal because we know it very well. And I do believe that we play out well nationally. But there is some nervousness in just seeing the way that Mike Williams has handled it so far and in who is leading this and my faith in their ability to get it done.
Yeah, I'm totally with Andy on this one. I think he echoed all my points. The only flip side I see to this is exactly how I felt when Montgomery retired for the basketball team. When Montgomery retired, there was a standard that he set while he was here. He won us at least one Pac-10 title, and he consistently brought in guys that weren't high-end recruits because he didn't really like to go after the five-star guys. But he still brought in the guys that he wanted, developed them to a degree to keep us competitive every year, right? He retires. We're going, who is coming in as our head coach? We all thought we were going to hire in-house with Travis DeClaire, but we ended up not. We ended up getting a candidate out of the blue. No one expected us to get Konzo Martin. I didn't even know who Konzo was. Thankfully, all Tennessee fans hate him, so we got a plus. And then he's come in and over the last 3 years gotten us, recruiting-wise, gotten us Jaylen Brown, gotten us Ivan Rabb, got us Charlie Moore this past year, and he has guys lined up next year as well. And the recruiting classes are only going to get better. The question of him being a successful coach at Cal is still a question mark in my mind, just because he hasn't had a roster that he had or he wants, especially because of that big senior class that we have that takes up a good 5-6 scholarships.
They're going to need to figure out something to replace those guys.
Yeah,
but that's neither.
Yeah, but that's not. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say is I just hope that this hire just breathes new energy into the program, just like when Konzo came in and did. And just make sure to build a solid foundation, and whether he stays 2 years, 3 years, or stays here for 20 years, just maintains that standard and wants to do something about it here. Not just win football games, but like create a program that's consistently talked about amongst recruits and consistently talked about amongst just college football, right? That's all I can ask for.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up in a second. I mean, I'm gonna say some things, but I'm gonna try to shut up pretty quickly. hopefully we touched on all of your questions, at least in some way, shape, or form. The audio from this recording, Rob tells me, will be ripped and turned into a podcast this week. So for people who didn't get to tune in, you won't be missing necessarily any of our insights. For me,
Well, you can always go back and rewatch the video too. It'll be up on YouTube. I just wanted to make that clear. It won't just be an audio. You can watch this video on YouTube throughout the week.
Closing thoughts. We didn't spend a lot of time mourning Coach Dykes. I don't think that's the appropriate way to feel about it, but I do want to say I will miss him. I did root for him to be successful. I wanted him to be successful, and I know I'm speaking for some of the gentlemen here who wanted him to do the same. In it that it didn't work out, and we ultimately bit the bullet a year early, maybe to cost us a little bit more, but it's a small price to pay for extricating ourselves from a situation that probably wasn't going to be any more than what it was. And we had a lot of really good times. Cal football was very rarely boring under Sonny Dykes. I understand there were some people who were against him from the start, right from when he turned 111, but he got handed a tough job. And the job was only set to become even tougher once the new 3.0 GPA requirement kicks in 2018. So thanks, Sonny, for that. And to the next coach. Should be done by the end of this week. If it's any later than that, you'll start to see me have a lot of public meltdowns as to why it's taking that long. But I trust that they had a plan in mind. Otherwise, they would have done this next season. And that about does it for me. Rob, do you have anything else you want to do before we shut this motherfucker off?
No, you can find the video here on this stream. We'll have a post up on it on CGB, so you can take a look at the video whenever you'd like. I'll rip the audio. That'll be up on SoundCloud and also iTunes via the CGB Bearcast station, so you can take a listen to that. And yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Nam, you wrapped it all up for us in a nice little package.
All right, cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in tonight. At one point, we had close to 70 people just sitting around and listening to us. So that was pretty cool. Thank you for tuning in, and go Bears.
Go Bears.
All right.
All right.
It's past my bedtime.
Stop the podcast.